What's up, people? How y'all doing out there? What I'm about to read to you is top secret classified information that William Cooper died for just to deliver to you. Take a look at this facility. As you can see from the layout, it's in the woods, in the mountains, right? You see that in the background. Now, what do you think is taking place at this facility? Oh, let's find out. Let's find out. This is coming from Behold a Pale Horse. Here we go. Mount Weather. Just outside of a sleepy little town called Bluemont, Virginia, about 46 miles west of Washington, D.C., is an area of wilderness covering what has been called the toughest granite rock in the eastern United States. The area is surrounded by signs marked restricted area, and this installation has been declared a restricted area. Wonder why? Unauthorized entry is prohibited. Other signs state, all persons and vehicles entering hereon are liable to search. Photographing, making notes, drawings, maps, or graphic representations of this area or its activities is prohibited. Heard that. Such material found in the possession of unauthorized persons will be confiscated. Right? Will be confiscated. Let's continue. Eternal Security Act of 1950. The installation is beneath a mountain, and its name is the Western Virginia Office of Control Conflict Operations. Control conflict operations? Interesting. Its nickname is Mount Weather. Mount Weather? It was ordered to be built by the Federal Civil Defense Administration, which is now the Federal Preparedness Agency. Preparedness Agency, correction. Mount Weather was designed in the early 1950s, so they've been doing this since the 50s, y'all, as part of a civil defense program to house and protect the executive branch of the federal government. The official name was the Continuity of Government Program. Continuity of Government Program. Congress has repeatedly tried to discover the real purpose of Mount Weather. Even Congress can't discover the real purpose, but so far has been unable to find out anything about the secret installation. Retired Air Force General Leslie W. Bray, director of the Federal Preparedness Agency, told the Senate Subcommittee on Constitutional Rights in September 1975, "I am not at liberty to describe precisely what is the role and the mission of the capability that we have at Mount Weather or at any other precise location." Now, this is what she told the Senate Subcommittee. She can't tell them nothing. She can't tell them nothing about this facility. In June 1975, Senator John Turney, Democrat of California, chairman of the Subcommittee on Constitutional Rights, charged that Mount Weather held dossers on at least 100,000 Americans. Now, why would y'all be holding dossers on Americans? Huh? He later alleged that the Mount Weather computers, described as the best in the world, can obtain millions of pieces of additional information on the personal lives of American citizens simply by tapping the data stored at any of the other 96 federal relocation centers. Sounds like data centers to me, right? Surveillance centers, better yet. I know from my stint with the Office of Naval Intelligence that these dossers consist of information collected about American patriots, men and women who are most likely to resist the destruction of our Constitution and the formation of the totalitarian police state under the New World Order. So they got dossers on all these people who they call patriots, rebels, anybody who's gonna go against and resist their totalitarian government, or that's gonna stand against this new world order that they trying to implement. So they got dossers on all these people, all these organizations too, right? You heard about Rex 84, King Alfred plan, right? Look that up. All right. The Patriot Data Bank, data centers, data bank is constantly updated so that when the appointed hour arrives, all patriots can be rounded up. Yeah, King Alfred. With little, if any, effort. The plan calls for this to be accomplished in the dead of night on a national holiday. The most likely holiday is Thanksgiving, when everyone, no matter the religion, race, or creed, will be at home. The targets will be ripe for the picking after a heavy meal. So they already figured this out. Maybe some alcoholic beverages and during a deep sleep. There is a traitor in the patriot movement who provides the secret government with accurate names and addresses of patriots who will fight to protect and defend the Constitution. Right? This almost remind me of when them suckers tried to storm the White House, right? for your boy Trump. It's crazy. Okay. My recommendations is that no patriot should ever be at home or at the home of any family member on any holiday ever again until the traitors have been hung and the Constitution restored as the supreme law of the land. You heard? Some sources state that Mount Weather is virtually an underground city complete with dormitories, private apartments, streets, sidewalks, cafeterias, hospitals, water purification systems, a power plant, office buildings, a lake fed by fresh water from underground springs, a mass transit system, and many other astounding things. Did you hear that? They've been talking about this for years, but it's been on the low, right? From underground facilities. Here you go. There's this. Several disturbing facts emerge when one researches Mount Weather. One is the conclusion that a complete parallel government exists at the site. Okay, hold up. Let's read that again. Several disturbing facts emerge when one researches Mount Weather. One is the conclusion that a complete parallel government exists at the site. 9 federal departments exist there: Agriculture, Commerce, HEW, HUD, Interior, Labor, State, Transportation, and the Treasury. Say what? Apparently, at least 5 federal agencies are also in residence. FCC, Selective Service, Federal Power Commission, Civil Service Commission, and the Veterans Administration. 2 privately owned corporations have offices at Mount Weather: the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Post Office. Let me say that again. 2 privately owned corporations have offices at Mount Weather: the Federal Reserve and the U.S. Post Office. The real one. There is also an office of the presidency there, what you're looking at, right? What makes all this upsetting is that there is a president and a complete set of cabinet officers in the residency at Mount Weather. Did you hear that? What makes all this upsetting is that there is a president and a complete set of cabinet officers in the residency at Mount Weather. Who are they? And who appointed them? Where is such a thing provided for in the Constitution of the United States of America? Show me. Mount Weather is the operational center, the hub of over 96 other underground federal relocation centers scattered across the United States. The majority of these appear to be concentrated in Pennsylvania, Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, North Carolina. Okay? Each of these facilities contains computer data banks holding information, data centers. They already had them. Man. And we thought they just starting to build them. These suckers been had them. Okay. Not on enemy agents. Okay. Not on enemy agents, Soviet diplomats, or suspected terrorists, but on American citizens, patriots. They got DOSes on you. Spy programs. Man, these suckers are sick. A list of other files kept at the facilities was furnished to the Subcommittee on Constitutional Rights in 1975. The list included military installations, government facilities, communications, transportation, energy and power, agriculture, manufacturing, wholesale, and retail services, manpower, financial, medical, and education institutions, sanitary facilities, population housing, shelter, and stockpiles. Stockpiling. What are y'all stockpiling? You stockpiling the real food, the weapons, everything. The real seeds, non-GMO. Man. The committee concluded that these databases operate with few, if any, safeguards or guidelines. Senator James Alberetz, Democrat, South Dakota, a member of the subcommittee, said, "I feel the entire operation has eluded the supervision of either Congress or the courts." Chairman Turney said, "Mount Weather is out of control." Mount Weather is out of control. That's what he said, right? Nothing was done by Congress to rectify the situation. However, and Mount Weather remains out of control. It says it's out of control. Former high-level officials from Mount Weather agreed that the base at Mount Weather is much more than any standby government facility or storage center for the preservation of records. They describe it as an actual government in waiting. They describe it as an actual government in waiting. So if something happens to this government, Trump and them, they already have a government in waiting. We do not merely store essential information. The facility attempts to duplicate the vital functions of the executive branch of the administration. So they have dual governments. As stated above, according to my research, this includes a president and all cabinet members actually in residence. Protocol even demands that subordinates address them as Mr. President or Mr. Secretary. They have two presidents. Most of these mysterious appointees have held their positions through several administrations. We just act on the orders of the president in national emergencies, said one former Mount Weather official. The FPA, in its 1974 annual report, stated that studies conducted at Mount Weather involved the control and management of domestic political unrest, where there are material shortages such as food riots or in-strike situations where the FPA determines that there are industrial disruptions and other domestic resource crises. You heard that? Yeah, y'all storing all the food and everything. So if anything break out, y'all can manage that, right? Y'all can send out y'all goons. Management of domestic political unrest. So instead of y'all focusing on terrorists, real foreign terrorists, y'all focusing on political unrest on the ancient one's land. The report states that the bureaucracy at Mount Weather invokes what it calls civil crisis management. Officials who were at Mount Weather and who have furnished us with data say that during the 1960s, the complex was actually prepared to assume certain governmental powers at the time of the 1961 Cuban Missile Crisis. See, they never forgave Cuba for that. and the assassination of President Kennedy in 1973. The source said that the installation used the tools of its civil crisis management program on a standby basis during the 1967 and 1968 urban riots and during a number of national anti-war demonstrations against the administration by the American people. Yeah, y'all in practice with this installation already. Y'all had to test things out. Daniel J. Crowan, who was the assistant director for the FPA, outlined a massive surveillance and manipulation program that is directed against the American population on a continuing basis. Do you hear that? Man, these people are demons. Daniel J. Crowan outlined a massive surveillance and manipulation program against us, the American population. The FPA has organized an impressive armament of resources and equipment. Mr. Cronin described in an interview his agency's attitude toward its wide-ranging surveillance program. We try to monitor situations, he said, and get to them before they become emergencies. They have a movie about this. And what was that movie name where they was doing this? I can't recall the movie's name at the time. But yeah, they do this in real time. That's why they make movies about it. Okay. We try to monitor situations, he said, and get to them before they become emergencies. No expense is spared in the monitoring program. He cited reconnaissance satellites. So then using satellites to spy on you. Local and state police intelligence reports and law enforcement agencies of the federal government as examples of the resources available to the FPA for information gathering. The only document that I was able to find that attempts to outline some of the statutory authority at Mount Weather is Executive Order 11490. It was described by General George A. Lincoln, former director for the Office of Emergency Preparedness, preceded FPA, and was signed into law by President Nixon in October 1969. Executive Order 11490 superseded Executive Order 11051, signed on October 2nd, 1962 by President Kennedy. Kennedy's order used the language, whereas national preparedness must be achieved, as may be required to deal with increases in international tensions with limited war or with general war, including an attack upon the United States. Nixon's order began, whereas our national security is dependent upon our ability to assure continuity of government at every level in any national emergency type situation that might conceivably confront the nation. Nixon has deleted any reference to war, imminent attack, and general war from the order and replaced them with the phrase during any emergency that might conceivably occur. So he took out the war part that Kennedy had up in there. He put any national emergency, right? So they can make up a national emergency anytime. They can concoct one just to implement this law. Nixon's order, which is the one in effect today, allows the government in the form of FEMA to suspend the Constitution for literally any reason they decide to call a national emergency. Ain't that what I just said? Psh. I cannot find a plan or executive order anywhere that outlines any procedure for or allowance for the restoration of the Constitution after a national emergency has ended. This leads to the obvious conclusion that no restoration of the Constitution is contemplated or described by those in power. They don't care about the Constitution. They ain't just do that to the dogs. In 1975, Senator Turney expressed concern. We know from what we've heard in the press that 15,000 names were being maintained by the FBI for detention in an emergency. More than that now. We also know that the IRS has its files on individual taxpayers. We know that the CIA had their Operation Chaos and that the NSA has the records of conversations that have been intercepted electronically. My question is this: is there anyone like yourself, General Bray, that is in control of the overall access to this data if it is maintained in a relocation site? And your answer, as I understood it, is no. Turney continued. General Bray, I must say that I still don't know who's in control of these relocation centers. You say you don't have that knowledge, and still we don't know from the 3 witnesses that we had here today that they had information as to who has control of those centers. I'm not at liberty, Bray answered, to describe precisely what is the role and the mission of the capability we have at Mount Weather or at any other precise location. I firmly believe that our continuity of government program has not provided continuity of all that has been the instrument for discontinuing open and democratic government. And the very program designed to protect Americans has actually been turned against them. Well, against us. This is what he said. So they've been spying on us, my people. They've been spying on us for a long time. And this is by the president of the Ford Foundation, 1953. We are at the executive level here. We're active in either OSS, the state government, or the European Economic Administration. During those times, and without exception, we operated under directions issued by the White House. We are continuing to be guided by just such directives, the substance of which were to the effect that we should make every effort to so alter a life in the United States as to make possible a comfortable merger with the Soviet Union. You heard that for yourself. It's crazy, people. This is all part of their little new world order, right? Surveillance state, complete control, digital currency. What else? We out. Peace.